Ja, meine Damen und Herren, ich soll einfach anfangen, das tue ich dann auch. Ich beginne ganz kurz auf Deutsch, begrüße Sie recht herzlich im Namen des Vorstands der Friedrich-Naumann-Stiftung. Mein Name ist Wolf-Dieter Zumpfort, ich bin der stellvertretende Vorsitzende der Stiftung. Ich begrüße Sie recht herzlich zum heutigen Seminar. Und I just want to change into English because some of our guests and speakers are not able to speak German, so I will continue in English and hope you are enjoyed about my good English. In the sense that I will try my best. First of all, I welcome you at the headquarters of the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom. I'm very happy that you found your way here to Potsdam. My name is of course Wolf-Dieter Zumpfort. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of the Friedrich Naumann Stiftung or Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom. And I especially welcome the speakers of today's colloquium. Some of them have really had a long travel from the United States, from England and from Bodensee and so on. And let me tell you also that Mr. Dr. Detmar Döring, the head of the Liberal Institute, sends you his warm regards and is truly sorry that he cannot be here today. You might have noted that this house is quite a historical one, on a quite historic place. I just told to our guest where we are now. During the Potsdam Conference, following the Second World War, the American President Truman has resided here for a couple of days in other houses, the Stalin House and other houses. It means they were here to have the so-called Potsdam Conference and to discuss the results of the Second World War and to rebuild a new society in Germany on a democratic basis. Originally, it was white. It was called the Little White House. And during the GDR time, it was right next to the border, since West Berlin, which is just on the other side of the lake, belonged to West Germany and Potsdam belonged to East Germany. And for all the who don't know, just on this little way here, there was standing the wall. So we are on a very historical place here. Interestingly, it's a new fictional book that was just awarded with the German Book Prize, placed partly here in this house during the 1960s, when the school was installed in this building. For all the German, probably you have noticed that Eugen Ruge in Zeiten des abnehmenden Lichts den Deutschen Buchpreis bekommen hat. Und ein Teil seiner Geschichte spielt genau hier, weil es früher eine Schule war. The Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom has resided here since 2001, and apart from the chimney, everything you see here is new and not original because there was a fire and everything was destroyed. But this chimney is the original one there. Now to our seminar. I told this is the only original, and speaking of originals, that brings us to the topic of our today's colloquium. The Liberal Institute has been dealing with the topic of property for quite some time now. Actually, property has been one of the focal issues of the Foundation's work for the last 3 years, which we, the board, have installed in this foundation. This year, the focus has been put on intellectual property rights. This issue is first a complex one, and second, it is not without ambiguity and for liberals. Let me tell where my experience from intellectual property rights stems from. I'm working for now 20 years for a big German company called TUI, in former times called Preußac, and I'm working in the field of World Trade Organization. And you know probably the World Trade Organization is dealing since the year 1995 with 4 topics. The first are general agreement on trade and tariffs for goods. Then the second is general agreement for trade and services. Then this third is trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. And the last one is dispute settlement unit. That means since the year of 1995, in the world trade agenda, intellectual property rights have an isolated pillar, and all the discussions in the last years mostly are focused on intellectual property rights. To say it out of my experience, I was working on services liberation in China, and we got it when China stepped into the World Trade Organization in the year 2001, that we could our company, TUI, tourism company in China, with more than 50%. We can go to the Chinese wall with a TUI flag, and in TUI buses and in TUI hotels, which was not possible in the years before. That's all the former times. That means the first 10 years of my working at the WTO was working with freedom for services. But now, when our Chancellor, Ms. Merkel, is on a trip to China, he has so-called what I say? They will have a paper from the German industry in their baggage, which told of the problems with China in the fields of intellectual property rights, because we can now export nearly everything to China, we can do nearly every services in China, but you know that all the problems in China arose from the negative protection of intellectual property rights there. For instance, we as a former company of Preussag built up a crane factory in China in the years 98, 99. 2 years later, a second similar crane factory was rented by Japanese, and they were a little bit cheaper, so we have to lock up our crane factory, and that is one kind of not protected intellectual property rights, because they learned from us how to build trains in the fields of container tech. So let me go back to my paper here. Imagine somebody owns a broccoli, not just literally, but the conception of broccoli, its genetic code. Everybody who wants to breed new varieties or plant or sell broccoli not only would have to buy the seeds, but also would owe to the holders of a royalty. Would this be good for gardening, because additional incentives to breed vegetables and to have registered new species came up? Or would this be bad for other breeders and customers because of fewer choices and thus higher prices of seeds and production? Have you ever asked such questions? Not many people think about processing vegetables, but the protection of ideas and bootlegs, illegal file sharings and patent wars are on everyone's lips. Even among classical liberals, the principle of intellectual property rights and the patent and the copyright law are controversial topics. On the one hand, there are some protagonists of stern protection of immaterial goods and ideas. On the other hand, some classical liberals oppose intellectual monopolies. Some commentators accentuate similarities to the benefits of protecting private property rights for innovation and the efficiency of resource allocation. They fear that a world without intellectual property as a socialist nightmare. In opposition, other experts warn against monopolization and reduced incentives for innovations. To this day, there is a dispute about the historical role of intellectual property rights. And now, to the end of this colloquium and to the end. With our colloquium today, the Liberal Institute at the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom wants to initiate a discussion about the liberal perspective of intellectual property rights. What are the arguments for more or for less protection of intellectual property rights? What are the consequences of the different positions? Might there be a common liberal position? That's the task, that's the work you have to do, to give answers to this question. We hope that an exchange of ideas about the history of intellectual property rights and some empirical aspects of copyrights and patents in our daily life will help to find some answers to these questions. You are highly welcome to bring your arguments into the discussions. I wish us an interesting and lively event, and I am looking forward to the talks and to the debates. Thank you very much. Now to say exactly, there are two people who are ruling the